even though I had had this like deep heart level change, there was still an encounter that we experienced that was like almost a backslide in the beginning of our marriage, where you knew I used to struggle with substance abuse in my past life. And so I had given up alcohol when I came to the Lord. In fact, I gave up everything when I first came to the Lord. And then as time started to progress, I think you remember that first time I tried to have that conversation with you of like, hey, like I think I can have wine from time to time, like it doesn't have to be a big deal. And you have never dabbled in anything like that. You've never been a drinker, and you were very against it. You were like, no way. And like this was a whole like, like fatal kind of fight for us in the beginning. And I remember, I'm pretty headstrong. And so I ended up kind of getting back into that. And next thing I knew, I had an old friend come and visit, and I was drinking with her. And, nothing bad happened based on like the standards of what was bad to me. But I did sort of have a little bit of an alcohol relapse where you caught a glimpse of what that old me would have been like had I lived that out or, started drinking and using substances again. And you grabbed me up from that so quick. And, you gave me the ultimatum. It's either me and our marriage or it's alcohol. And you essentially get to choose at the end of the day. And that was a really hard conversation to have. But that's something that I appreciate so much about you, is that you do keep me protected. And you like on the straight and narrow, like you keep me accountable and you protect me. And that's not something I ever had before, because like I said, I am headstrong. And so the people who were in my life before just kind of let me do whatever. And then it ended up, you know, resulting in chaos. So that is something I appreciate about you, is that you are protective and you know what my triggers are. So I guess that's kind of going into a topic of when you come from a story like mine, or anybody that's listening, when you have like a sort of rocky past, knowing how to protect those triggers. Because for me, what typically resulted in me doing these sort of sexually scandalous things, it started with alcohol. And so we know that that's a trigger that we have to protect. For me personally, I don't know if you want to speak on that at all, like protecting the triggers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a blessing that you and I get to, walk this walk together, because it does take two to keep each other accountable. We're all human. It's, there's always going to be some type of an issue. I'm definitely not a fan of identifying as, someone, whether it's an alcoholic or whatever, but I definitely think that there are challenges that people struggle with, and it does take two to walk this walk.
Yeah.
You know, that scenario that you just went through, um, it wasn't, anything fatal. It was just an opportunity for us to realign our expectations, because you and I got together under certain assumptions. That was, we found each other and we decided that we were going to be with each other because our principles and our ideals and everything in between aligned. That said, you and I are both working on ourselves to get to those ideals and to get onto those principles and so on. So when that opportunity came about, it was just a good chance for us to talk about it, realign, make sure that we're still on the same page, kind of hit a refresh button,
Yeah.
and make sure that that doesn't happen again. And like you said, it wasn't anything bad by any means whatsoever. It was
Right.
just an uncomfortable moment that gave us an opportunity to either keep on moving along or make some adjustments so that we are able to move along. And
Yeah.
we did.
Absolutely. Yeah, we did. And I think it's because, and we'll get into this a little bit more, but we both really believe in the commitment of marriage. And so, that came first and foremost. Like that desire to honor the covenant for me was greater than my desire to relapse into alcohol abuse. And so, kind of like how I noted on, this was the thing leading up to me falling into the sexual sins, was like the abuse of alcohol. So to protect that trigger for me, something I admire so much about you is, we all come in with our own triggers. Like, we all have our own sort of past and things that we struggled with. You know what your triggers are. I know what my triggers are. I don't want to speak to that for you, but something that I admire so much about you as my husband is like, you right away, you unfollowed every girl on Instagram. If any girl even follows you on Instagram or social media, you show me, you tell me, like, you ask if it's even appropriate to follow back. If there's ever like a steamy scene on TV, you don't look at it. Like, you never look, because the Bible says it starts, like, if you take it into your eyes and it goes into your mind, the sin starts there. And so I just admire so much how you also protect those triggers to protect the purity of our marriage as well.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm definitely a believer in, there's a saying, "Don't tempt the devil to tempt you."
Yes.
Nobody's perfect in this world, and we all have to make effort to, align with that perfection as much as we can.
Yeah.
That said, kind of knowing your trigger points, knowing your weaknesses, being honest with yourself that those exist in the first place. I think that's incredibly important because that way you could, monitor yourself and supervise yourself and make the appropriate adjustments. So for me, it's not that big of an issue, but at the end of the day, just logically speaking as well, I'm now married. I'm in a long term committed relationship that I value and treasure. I don't need anything else seeping into it, however harmless, because I can't make that judgment in that moment whether or not it's harmless. Devil works in mysterious ways and very strategic and very sneaky. And the last thing I want to do is engage with that, even entertain the thought of engaging with it. So to me, I don't fight it, I flee it. I don't need to be around it. I don't need to be a part of it. I don't even need to show it how strong-willed I am against it and whatnot. It's just not what I do. It's not a part of my routine. We have better, bigger things to focus on.
That's so good. Yeah, you even will leave the gym if it's like, a bunch of girls down there doing stuff in the gym. You'll leave the gym and come home and finish your workout. And I've never felt more safe with a person. And I'm just so grateful that, my husband has those attributes. I feel very lucky and blessed that you protect us in those ways.